Hi everyone and welcome to She. You know, every time we have this show, I'll always tell you that I've brought you guys the best of the bestest. Now today, I can't even use that term, I have to say the creme de la creme. You know, because what we'll discuss today is so close to my heart because it's something that I feel I'm still going through. I know I've told you guys in previous episodes that I lost my dad in the month, like 2 months ago. And after that, you know, it became so difficult for me to continue with my, what do I call it, with like my good diet, clean eating. You know, it just all dipped because I guess of the stress, the emotions and everything. And so when I found these ladies, I was like, there must be somebody else going through what I'm going through. Because, you know, weight is such a big issue after you have your babies or even during the pregnancy. Then comes the mental wellness. You know, you want to take care of yourself. You want to eat green leafy vegetables, but the sugar just seems to be the easy thing and it seems to, you know, heal your heart in some sort of way. And so I'm so excited today because even I myself, I'm hoping I will learn, you know, how to be able to eat healthier, you know, and just be well as faith. And you know what else? I know this, you might want to tell the kids to go to sleep. Family planning. Because part of your wellness is not maybe the fear of getting pregnant soon as you've delivered the baby. And are there natural ways? Well, we'll be finding it out right now, right here on She. I'll let you ladies introduce yourselves because I'm looking forward to the discussion today. So maybe we start with you.
Wow. Thank you, Faith. It's so nice to be here, and thank you for such a warm introduction. My name is Modan and basically my field is holistic health. My desire is just to bring back wholeness into people's lives and into my own life. It started from my own personal desire for wholeness. So I do two things. On one side, I work in nutrition and mostly with pregnancy, infant, and child nutrition. So just that whole transition of from becoming pregnant to having children and managing the nutrition of the family in that sense.
Wow.
And I also work in a field called reproductive health education, where I teach natural fertility awareness methods. So simply put, ni family planning, bila pills, ama dawa.
Wow,
so those
that
are the
is
two
so
things that I
refreshing
do.
to hear. Like I feel like stopping and just saying everybody needs to just call their friends and make sure they tune in. Because I think it's a headache for everyone. You know, nowadays you hear, oh, use this pill, then it leads to a clot, or use this. Like it's so scary, you know? So it's refreshing to know that there could be natural methods. I'm really looking forward to learn how that works, by the way, because, you know, it's just quite interesting. But karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Faith, and thank you for this amazing opportunity to be here today. My name is Joy Mwangi, and I work very closely with children, teenagers, and the whole person, pretty much. I train in the areas of life skills. That is where I specifically love to what I specifically love to do.
Wow.
And more than that, I am born again. I am married, 15 years now.
Wow.
So it's an exciting journey, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thank you for the invite. But I don't have any children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, karibu sana, and I'm really looking forward to just this discussion.
Yes.
And I want us to start with the nutrition aspect. And why I love that it's both of you here is because I also want to learn, is there a psychological side to this? Because I'll tell you, before my dad fell ill and then passed on, I had started, there's a clean eating diet I always do after I have my children. And I see all the 20, because I gained 20 kgs with this child, I see the 20 kgs just fall off and I move on. And so I started on the same diet, clean eating diet. I lost, I think, around 8 kgs. My dad fell ill. I just started dipping there. The next thing I knew, I had added back that weight, and the rest, as I say, is history. You know, and like I said earlier, I just couldn't get myself to look at a salad and enjoy it. Like you just want, it's like you just want bad food. So take me through, like, you know, how you take mothers through that journey of, you know, like whether it's through pregnancy or after they've had children, on what to eat and all that. And then you will guide us on the background of, you know, is there like an emotional, psychological side to what you eat?
Wow, that's such a good question. You've touched so many deep things. I think the first thing that I'll touch on is I always like to say that we must approach the way we eat from a point of self-love and not self-loath. Because many times we live in a society where we are always seeing ourselves on pictures or seeing other people on pictures and like glamorizing them and maybe putting off ourselves like, she looks so perfect, I don't. And you find many times you're like, okay, let me go on this diet so that I can feel like I can stop hating myself. But I like to change that narrative and be like, let's approach food from a point of, I love myself. I'm doing this because I love myself, because I want to see myself moving well. I want to see myself enjoying life. I want to see myself being able to be fit or have fun. So it really matters how we approach something. I know Joy will also touch on like the attitude behind it. But if I'm approaching a diet from like, I really don't like who I am, it becomes, how I look, it becomes more difficult to effect it than when you approach it for, you know what, this is my body, this is what God has given me, and if I take care of it, if I do the right things, it will help me be the person I need to be. So looking at your body as this is a vessel that allows you, Faith, to be here and do this beautiful job. So just because of that, it's very, very special. So we approach it from a point of love. The other thing that I always like to say is also that dieting is not a reality. A diet is a really nice thing, but it's not a reality. So I always push for lifestyle living, such that whether you're pregnant or not, whether you're going through menopause, whatever stage of life you are, your lifestyle will serve you.
But now, Modoni, let me just tell you.
Tell me.
Well, maybe this is my therapy session. But you know, I agree with you. But, and maybe it's a question as you continue to answer this, you know, like what I usually tell myself, and I know so many women who think that way, is that the lifestyle change takes so long. So you tell yourself, let me do this quick diet, I lose those 20 kgs, then after that I can start the lifestyle
But
diet.
the reality is, even the science has shown, you will lose the 20 kgs with a diet, but you will add back. Even if you won't add back the 20 kgs, you will add back the weight. So the beauty with a lifestyle diet, you will take longer to lose the weight, but once it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes impossible to live differently because it's become ingrained in you. So yes, it requires more from you initially, and that we always say, take it at bite size, like take bite-size chunks of what you can do, but in the long run, it serves you into your 60s, because I keep saying like this same body is gonna be the body you have at 60 or 90. At that point, you might not be able to do the 1 month diet. You need to have a lifestyle that will serve you even as you age through different stages of your life.
And we're coming to you, Joy, and I'm just curious, Modoni, so when you meet somebody, does that mean you take them through this journey of self-love in this? You don't find that love there, and you know, taking out that loath, like you said, because I thought that was powerful. Is that where you start from, or do you meet Faith today, tomorrow you give her a meal plan, and then we move on? Like how does it look like?
It depends on the forum in which I meet the ladies. Joy and I do a forum together, which we call Women Wellness Series. In that forum, we provide for all that because it's emotional work, it's physical work, it's actually also fitness work. So we have a group of women who we do all the different areas with. So that's normally the best way. Tackle it from all sides. Because many times how you're feeling in your head and in your heart affects what you're going to eat. So it may be easy to be like, here's a meal plan, but we also have to go through like, where are you in life? What's going on in your life? Because you might be eating not because of hunger, but because of stress, like you said. So we like to approach it holistically.
That's powerful. And Joy, what would you say? Is it for real? Because I have never thought that my whole life. You know how people talk about that, you know, you eat, like when you're stressed, you pull out a tub of ice cream or things like that. That has never been me my whole life until now. You know, so is it, how we eat is connected to how we feel?
Yes.
Can you deal with that, or is, you know, are we doing meal plans for when you're in your high and you're low? Like, how do we make sure then it's sustainable, like Modoni is saying?
Like Modoni has brought it out, and thank you, Faith. That's a very, very, very good question. One of the things I've heard her say, and she said it very clearly, is that we are what we eat. But more than just being what we eat, we are what we feel. We are what we feel. And so in the process of just going through that change, you have just gone through a very, for example, this season has not been an easy season for you. And you do need something that gives you a high, all right? So what excites you? What brings that high? For another person, it would be a movie. For another person, it would be just, you know, taking a walk, going for a holiday, doing certain things. So you're looking for something that will give you a good feeling, a dopamine feeling, a high, an excitement. And for some of us, it could be then food. That is where we find the high, and not necessarily that which we call, you know, healthy food.
Yes.
Most of it is what we call comfort. And why is it called comfort? Because you sit with it, and then you feel good. You
Like
feel
a friend.
comfortable, and it becomes a friend.
Like it just needs a sit over
You
here and
know?
we talk.
You know, and there's a way it just goes through your body, through your veins, and it keeps telling you, you know what, it's never that serious. In fact, those are the words we use when we're eating comfort food. We always have a way to make sure that it makes us, we are at par with it. It's comfort, and it's never that serious from our side. So when we are saying that and repeating that, it's altering what we see. It's altering our view around that food.
Indeed.
So that what we know is actually right, we will not go to it. So it just gives us a comfort around it. And so, Faith, as we are talking, I think there are many areas to look at. I like the way she has said that a whole person is necessitated by, is brought together by looking at all the areas. The why. Why are we where we are? The why. You know, I can tell that I am here, I was not here. How did I get here? And so the journey of looking at how did I get here, it could have been a traumatic experience, it could be a loss, it could have been just the feeling of, you know, I have lost someone or something. And someone is not a person necessarily, even you, because of, you know, the whole process of giving birth, getting a child. And when I'm talking, I'm not referring to you really. I'm talking about moms who go through that feeling of, I've lost myself and now I'm taking care of another. So where am I right now? And just that whole process of, you know, hormonal changes, physical changes, social relational changes, so many things going on around us. And just generally the world where we are at. So you carry that around, you need some comfort food for sure. You need something that makes you feel, yes, you know. But then after that, you're also feeling, what did I do? The guilt that comes with that. You know, I'm probably for a mom, I'm breastfeeding, but what did I eat? Is that what my child is going to take? You know, what did I just do? You know, and then of course, because it is going into the body and getting comfortable, because it was meant to be comfort food, when it gets comfortable, then you start having, you know, another issue with yourself. Who am I becoming? Who is this? I don't like
Who's
myself.
this I'm seeing in front
you
of the
know?
mirror?
Yeah, who is this woman? You know, already you have this whole journey. You are learning how to take care of someone. Then you are also relearning yourself again, because I believe that every time a woman goes through the process of giving birth, they become a different person.
So true.
Every child is different. And so even who they are at that time is also different.
Wow.
So it's such an interesting aspect to look at from very many dimensions.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
And you know, when I listen to you, then I'm thinking it's so much deeper than we think. And it also cannot just be sorted by a click of a button or a quick diet or a quick, you know, comfort food, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, Muthoni, I don't know if you have children, but you talked about what you do being personal as well. Is this something that you started because you learned from experience? You know, you can console us and tell us, you know, Faith, one day I was 100 kgs, then I found this meal plan, hence why I am who I am today. I'm just kidding though.
That's
but
a good question.
But I'm just curious, you know, because when you guys speak, it sounds so personal. Is this a journey you've also walked through? Because what I'm beginning to learn through, because what I've gone through the last few months, I think for me is the most difficult thing. And what I'm beginning to learn is that you never really know what someone is going through until you go through it.
True that.
You know, I think the other most painful thing I went through was a miscarriage. And until I went through it, you know, then you can relate to somebody else who goes through it. I'm a 4-time CS mom. You know, so once I went through that, then when I sit with somebody else who's going through the depressive feelings after CS, then you get it and the pain because you've gone through it. So I don't know, is it your journey that onset this, what you do, and has it worked for you?
Yeah. Wow, that's a very good question. Yes, it is. Obviously, it is. It is my journey for sure.
Yeah.
I think for me, my interest in this field began as a teenager. My mom got cancer when I was a young girl, and she got a reproductive cancer. So for something clicked in my mind at that point. I kept wondering, is it this or is it that, or is it this or is it that? So from that point, I got very interested in nutrition, in wellness, and it stayed quiet for some time. And then I had my first, I have four daughters and one son. So I had my first
daughters and one son.
Yeah, so we should be friends because we can do some negotiations there. Yeah.
So maybe if I have my fifth, then I'll get
Then you can get a daughter for my son.
Indeed.
Or vice versa.
Indeed.
Anyway, yeah, so when I had my second born son, like my second born, like Joy says, life changes. You feel like you're a different person. So I kept wondering what I was working at that point was not working for me. So I kept thinking, what can I do? What field can I go into? What I'm doing now doesn't feel like it's natural to me. But I had always had a silent interest in nutrition. So I was like, you know what, because now I'm at home breastfeeding, I didn't have a job at the time, let me study nutrition. So that's how I got myself in the field of nutrition, always like with that back end of wanting to see, are some of these issues that we are getting now things we can address from a preventative point of view. So I went into that rabbit hole and got very interested from that point. And then later on, when I had now all along I had been struggling, sorry to bring this conversation now, but it's connected.
Yeah.
I'd been struggling with finding a natural family planning. So at that point, when I had now my third born, I was like, oh man, there must be something. So then I started now connecting between nutrition and our natural hormonal health. And then I discovered, oh my gosh, there's all these methods of natural family planning. And it's been a very great solution for me.
Oh, wow.
So that's where now I also got into that field. So it's been a personal journey.
You know, it's interesting. I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
First, is there a connection between nutrition and natural family planning?
Yes.
Before I come to you, Joy, to then discuss the psychological aspect.
Yeah.
Because I know one of the things, I remember speaking to my mom when I was getting married, and she's like, well, you know, you girls nowadays with the normal corporate life, you know, natural family planning cannot work like it did in their days. Because, you know, most of the time those days, you know, like your hormones are more stable, your emotions are more stable. Here you're jumping out of a boardroom and into, you know, another stressor and things like that, you know, and so your emotions and hormones are not how it was before. I don't know what your thoughts are towards that, and have you had clients who are also both corporate women and stay-at-home moms? Does it work both ways?
The truth is, yes, it does work both ways, but
Where have you been all my life?
It does work both ways, but what you've said is so true.
Yeah.
Our modern generation, we are interacting with a lot of what we call hormonal disruptors, endocrine disruptors, things that disrupt our hormonal balance.
Yes.
But I always believe once a woman is aware, many of the things are within her control to be able now to stabilize her own cycles and use the methods effectively. So yes, it does work. Yes, there is a big connection to nutrition and very, very huge connection, underrated connection to stress. So if there's one of the biggest things that disrupt our hormones is stress. And that is plenty in our modern day. Is our modern day, So, but if we're able to some of those factors are things we can work with. If we're able to work with them, it does work.
Okay.
Yes.
Before I move to Joy, I'm curious, is there any of the methods you can share?
Yes, I can share the one that I teach. I teach a method called Billings ovulation.
Okay,
so it's
Billings.
Billings.
Okay.
It's a science.
We're not about to have a chemistry
No,
class.
we're not having a chemistry class. It's a scientific backed method that basically teaches women to observe something very simple, which we call cervical mucus. Cervical mucus is secretions that you have every single day. And once you're able to observe them, you're able to know, am I fertile or am I not fertile? So you don't need to use any device, anything, just that like awareness and observation to know this is where I am in my cycle and then behave accordingly or respond accordingly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I feel like it's one of the sorts of information that needs like a microphone on top of a mountain for more people to hear, because I cannot tell you the number of people I know who ended up with other conditions just from different types of family planning.
Exactly.
So it's a blessing to know that there's that,
Yeah.
you know, that form. Joy, your thoughts?
Well, Faith, it's very interesting that she said something around, you know, your wellness.
Yes.
The wellness of a woman.
Yes.
And the stressor. I feel like today's woman is surrounded by very many stressors, knowingly and unknowingly. Every day they wake up, there's a reason why a woman will feel stressed.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not because they're actually looking for this stress. It is because it's right there. They didn't have to do anything to be called out of bed to fix this or to do this. It's just what is there every single day. But, you know, even as we look at it, our parents and the parents before our parents all had the same situations around them. They had children, they had a lot of activities around them, but they somehow knew how to manage it. Partly because they had systems around them that allowed for them to go through their day-to-day activities. And their tasks were not necessarily something they took up with the feeling of must I, should I. You know, they didn't drag them around their shoulders like it was, you know, heavy, burdenful. It was, we need to do this. This is my role in life. This is what I'm doing. And so when we come fast forward to our generation, a lot of what we are doing is also something we feel closely into our hearts, corporate jobs, things that we, you know, are making us on the fast lane. And that's what we are going after, you know, the coin and, you know, all that. But as we do that, we lose something around us. We lose connectivity, we lose support systems, we lose family, we lose, you know, a lot of other things fall by the side. And so as they do that, you notice that it's starting to have an effect on that woman who wants to wake up and feel okay. You know, so can a woman have it all? Yes, but there's some work that go around it. There's a mental wellness you need to have. There's a mental structure. Let me call it a mental structure or system that you need to rise up to. And that's what brought me into the area of training people in life skills. You know, how do I deal with my day-to-day stressors? How to wake up? What decisions do I need to make? How do I make those decisions? When do I stop and think, this is not important for me right now? Do I need to go into that place right now? Do I need that meeting right now? What's an emergency? And so when I have this conversation, sometimes women will ask me, and we have had this together with others as we are training women and talking to them, they'll ask me, Joy, when do you have the time to think through things so systematically? Sometimes it's a pop-up, you know, situation. But once you train yourself, you know, to choose, once you train yourself to calm down, once you train yourself to see through every day's activities as a process towards, you know, purpose, not so much so living or to achieve just goals around, you know, the coin, you know, but a lot more around purpose, then it becomes a very thoughtful process of life.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, Joy, we did an event for ladies with Joy recently, and one of the activities was lie down on the grass and close your eyes for 10 minutes and just lie down. It was incredible how refreshed the women were. We couldn't believe it. Like they woke up and it was like solutions to life had just come from just 10 minutes. But you know, for us women, it's you wake up, literally you come out of your bed running, you're out. So they were just like, it's so transformational just to take 10 minutes in silence. Nowadays, silence is like one of the most expensive
It's
things.
very expensive.
It's so
People
expensive.
pay for it.
People are paying for it because if I'm not listening to you, I'm
Yeah.
on my phone, I'm listening to something. So
Just 10 minutes lying on the grass.
Lying on the
to try
grass.
that.
Yeah.
And
I
walking
encourage our
barefoot.
listeners and
Yeah.
the viewers to try that 10 minutes lying.
And you don't even have to have grass. When you wake up in the morning, they say the first like 15 minutes of your day are the most effective. You can harness so much power from just being still your first 15 minutes. So wake up, lie in bed, don't get out of bed. Set your alarm 15 minutes earlier, just lie in bed, do nothing.
Wow.
You come out with a clarity.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, we need to take a break.
Yeah.
And you've just said that, and it reminds me of, this is me being very vulnerable. I think like 2 years ago, I was at such a difficult season in my life. And I don't think I even knew how difficult it was, you know, because like you're rightly saying, there's so much noise around us and you're running from this meeting to the other, one soccer game to another swimming gala to, you know. And I remember I traveled and for some leadership conference, and like you're saying, now instead of telling us 10 minutes, I think they give us like almost an hour, and they give you like a mat and they tell you, go sit down. They give you some questions and you can answer them or just reflect, etc. And I remember sitting down and I think I just read the first question, and it was something like, imagine you're on a helicopter going up and you're looking down on yourself.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah.
And I remember just reading that question and I broke down and I cried like for that whole hour because what I saw, I hope I don't break down into tears now, because what I saw was this young woman, just like I said, running from one soccer game to the other, running, you know, like just like a headless chicken. I was like, gosh, you know, is this what my life has become?
Yes.
And I think so many times as women, that's what happens. You know, we are so caught up, you know, with all these things, and I'm seated listening to you and I'm like, wow, like all I just need is, you know, those coping skills, those life skills to just slow down, get those 10 minutes. So thank you for sharing that. I feel like we're having a therapy session and I'm getting the benefits of being
But girlfriends is also therapy. That's another secret of coping. Girlfriends,
yes,
is
it's also
therapy.
therapy.
It's true. And with that, we take a break. We'll be right back after this.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back. In case you just joined us, we're talking about wellness, and you know, just the full scope of it, whether it's aspects of what you're eating, how you feel, how you look at yourself, you know, just being both self-aware and taking care of yourself, and just, you know, even thinking about things that can be big stressors like, you know, family planning. And I say big stressors because the other day a friend just called me and she's like, Faith, I just gave birth and I just found out that I'm pregnant. You know, and babies are blessings and a blessing, and it will be fine. I know it will be. But you know, sometimes you just want that period to just raise this one before you can have another one, you know. And to think about some of the things you said, you know, about self-love and self-love and, you know, the life skills you're talking about, the 10 minutes, you know, before you start your day. And it just hits you how as mothers and as women, you know, even though you're not a mother, so many times life just gets you that way. And I remember during COVID, how they did this research that showed how women were the ones most affected by COVID. They're the ones who quit their jobs because then now you make it remote working, and between taking care of their children, women are the ones who take care of their parents, you know, or you're a caregiver to some relative. And, you know, if we think about Africa, it's even more, you know, more so, you know. And they also showed, and I think I saw this in my own life, how so many women ended up really unwell with COVID because they were caught up taking care of their spouses and their children and completely forgot themselves. And by the time you are finding out you're also unwell, it's too late, right? And so I feel like even as we talk about this women empowerment, those are the things that we need to be empowered in as women. You know, there's more, you know, like having more women at the top, etc. But I think it starts there, because if women are well, then you can have purpose, like you talked about, and achieve. And leads me to my next question. So what's good to eat and what isn't? You know, because so many times, like when I did the clean eating diet I told you about, I don't enjoy meat. And I don't enjoy sugar. I know everybody looks at me. People always judge us plus size girls and think we're chubby because we love our sugar, but I don't enjoy sugar and I don't enjoy meat. So this clean eating diet for me was fantastic because it was more plant-based. And I was able, when I did it the first time, I was after my third born. When I had my first two, the weight just went. But for my third born, it didn't go as fast, so I had to do this. So I'm just curious, you know, because I did plant-based and it worked, you know, but it meant cutting off chai, and you know, as Kenyans, I couldn't have my tea, etc.
Yeah.
How do you do this meal plan? Do you, I don't know, come to my house and see, okay, these guys eat mondomas, so let me build it around that? Or how does it work? You can give us an example.
So usually we personalize it. So if we're doing it, for example, for Faith, we want to know Faith likes meat, doesn't like sugar, or Faith likes this, doesn't like this. Plant-based is actually the best. So primarily whole foods, meaning foods that are natural, that don't go through much processing, whole foods, plant-based. So that's the basic. So you don't have to follow at it, in the morning eat this and this and this, no. So long as you're eating whole foods, plant-based, and then we teach women how to portion food. Teach women, people generally how to portion food, because sometimes the challenge is not even the food you're eating, maybe it's the portion that you're eating.
That's me.
Yeah, so, so that's one thing that we teach. I can demonstrate that really quickly because I usually find it's quite important.
Okay.
So when we talk about a plate, like this is your a typical plate is 9 inches.
Okay.
And you're talking about, you want to know how much is too much. We start by saying vegetables should make up half your plate. So imagine the round plate, let vegetables make up half. If you want to use your hands, you put your hands together. So if you're eating sukuma wiki and ugali, this like should be the portion of sukuma wiki, 2 palms together. Then if you're eating that with a piece of fish or a piece of meat, meat should be 1 cupped hand. So that becomes easy to them, even when you go to a buffet.
So lucky for guys with big hands, don't you think?
But that's how it is. Even for a child, if they measure with their hands, you'll know your child is eating enough for their age. It's like God's design, I guess. So this should be vegetables.
Gosh, so I should, but maybe some of us have smaller. I think my hands even look smaller than yours, Mugoni.
Then that means maybe you should be eating less than me.
I know, right? Oh man. But, so now you know where my problem is.
And of course, it takes a journey, because you can't come from eating something like this and then
2
expect to get full.
Suddenly it's a palm.
Yeah, it's always nice to know what the goal is.
I got you.
Yeah. So this should be vegetables, that should be meat or beans or proteins, and this should be carbohydrates. I think that's a big place that for us women is usually a struggle. Is we tend to, African diets tend to focus so much on carbohydrates, very little protein, very little vegetables.
Yeah, like you just have mokimo.
Mokimo and you're good. Exactly. Or we have carbs on carbs, rice and chapati. You know?
Kenyan weddings.
Kenyan weddings, exactly.
That is so interesting.
so
I like that, and it's so simple.
Yeah, it's simple.
So do you do the same for families?
Yes.
Or is success if it's families? Because then if you're talking about like your house, I'm guessing what you eat is what your children eat and your spouse as well.
Yes, it is. Usually we recommend that because that's the easiest. It's very hard. If, for example, I personally am very tempted by wheat. Wheat is my weakness. So I'm the person who can eat chapatis every day. So if my family is eating chapatis every day and me, I'm there
trying to
kupambana na hali ya whatever it is I'm eating, it becomes a challenge. So I usually try to recommend, like, let the whole family become invested in the idea of healthy eating, but they can only be invested if they know the why. You see, maybe for the mom in the family, the why is I want to get back to my maybe pre-pregnancy size. But for the children, they're like, why are we suffering? You know, so it's good to explain to them why these foods are important. And then also the earlier the children are introduced to these healthy foods, the easier it is for them to adopt them. So that's why if mom can start before feeding the child, by the time the child is being weaned, they're already adapted to the normals, the guashes, the healthy.
So much for us taking, do you know how many milkshakes when you're pregnant? God help us. And I'm just curious.
Just fine. The milkshakes are just fine. I mean,
I know.
But
I like that. But I like it, the fact that you're talking about the whole family. And I'm just curious. I don't know what you guys think about, like, what did our moms do? You know, like, why is it so different now? And I know now they're talking about menopause happening earlier. You know how they say you turn 40 as well. Your weight starts packing up instead of down. And, oh my gosh, and all these things.
The horror stories.
Your weight doesn't go despite you eating healthy and all that. You know, do you include that in everything you're putting together? Are you thinking about age, and what are your thoughts about that and the current generation?
I think that's why it comes back to what we were saying earlier in terms of lifestyle. If we can start the lifestyle earlier, then that lifestyle carries you through. Because if you're able to like eat the whole foods, plant-based earlier on, you find even menopause has less challenges. A lot of the menopause struggles that women face also come from hormonal imbalance that comes from dietary issues. Many times,
stress.
yeah, too much milk. Just to name a few, too much milk, too much meat.
Too much milk? Is there something like too much milk?
Yes, there is something like too much milk. So when it comes to the reproductive side, milk is high. Milk is very high in estrogens. And estrogens in milk are similar to estrogens in our body.
Oh, wow.
So they throw off your estrogen balance. And particularly because as we love our kachai, we tend to have too much estrogen.
And you know, I'm the person who asks for tea and says, can it come just milk?
With milk, no. The other thing, I always like to put the disclaimer is life is also about enjoying. So it's not about struggle town all the time.
Thank you for saying that. We could actually end the show.
I like to say it's 80-20. If you can eat most of your meals, 80% of your meals you're eating the right stuff, the clean stuff, and then 20% you have your milkshake or you drink your kashai, by all means you also want to feel like you're enjoying your life. And then when you do the 80% over time, you start to enjoy the 80% more than the 20%. So you start to feel like you want less and less of the 20%. So it's just that starting and telling me, I like to tell people, do it for 1 week. Saturday, have a cheat day. You want to drink milkshake? Absolutely, drink on Saturday. You want to have tea? Have tea once a day. Choose the time you want and sit down and enjoy that tea.
Oh, that's good.
Then it becomes a gradual change.
That. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so don't feel like this mountain that has to be surmounted.
Thank you for that. Enjoy. I'm just
like
curious.
Receiving that.
It's because I need that validation. It's been such a struggle this time. You know, and also because I just turned 40, you know, and so I know, thank you. And so you think about all these stories you're being told, and then you're like, gosh, here I am having a child at this age. Oh, what do I do with this baby weight? So it's so refreshing to know that there's hope. And also because I know I'm not alone. There must be like droves of women going through, you know, the same thing. So I know if I'm encouraged, many other women are encouraged. And I was going to ask you, Joy. How do we handle this psychologically? You know, someone comes to you and yes, maybe they've met Mothoni and Mothoni has told them, here is your meal plan. You know, this is how you do it. And here is how you'll do natural family planning, blah, blah. And we put that aside. And then now there's how I'm thinking and where I am mentally. And then there's also just all these stressors that we're talking about. You're turning 40. You know, the other day we were talking with a group of friends and we're saying how this numbers is a stressor in itself. You know, because maybe you turn 40. I'll tell you guys a quick joke. How when I was turning 39, I did this survey and I called up friends who were in their 50s and I was asking them, you know, what are your regrets? You know, like if you went back to turning 39, turning 40, what would you do different? And a lot of them were like, they would not think about the 39, the 40. They'll just take it at any normal age because then it binds you, right? But the most interesting thing, which is where my joke comes around, is that one of the friends was like, you know, for her, she had plans for turning 40, but none of that happened because she found herself at home on maternity leave. And I tell my husband, like, why would someone not have a plan like that in life? You know, like, why would you be so disorganized? You're at home when you're turning 40. My friend, I turned 40 on maternity leave.
to you.
You are home.
Yes,
truly.
You know, and I know that's a joke.
Yes.
But the reality on the ground is it is stressful for people. You're turning 30, you're turning 40. You know, those are big numbers. You're turning 18. It's also a big number. The 21 age, the 30, the 40. The 50, the 60, you know, and you're like, maybe you're expected to be CEO by 30 or 40, you know, all these social media pressures. So these are the things that are facing women and men of this age. And these people come to you, Joy. I don't know what your thoughts are and what you tell people. I know that's a difficult question because it's quite big, but I'll let you answer it in the best way you can.
Thank you, Faith. That's a really good question, Faith. You know, just the way you've put it, there are so many things. And everyone who comes to you comes with, you know, a half glass full. They always come with something they feel like this should have happened or this has happened and shouldn't have happened. And, you know, I like to look at life from two ways. One, by design, who am I? I constantly ask myself that question. Who am I? Who is Joy? And I like to bring people to that place very so often. Who are you? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? You see, as you start to define yourself, as you start to understand who you are, and we are so blessed because we even have the Lord. So we can even draw from who God has said
that
we
you are.
You know?
I love
and
that.
sometimes there's such a gap between that. We get to who we are, but then when we include God, people say, wait, chill. I know God is there, that whole God story, you know, let's put it aside a bit, you know. What does being this person, what does achieving this goal have to do with God? And then I get to the place where, because I have integrated, though that is not what I will use in therapy when I am having conversations with people listening, but I've integrated my faith, my belief with how I can support and help people. I do know that everybody who is in this life is here for a purpose and for a reason. So I like to look at life from half full, not half empty. You know? And so, for example, when I turned 40, I sat down with a book and a pen and I wrote 40 things I'm grateful for. 40 things I'm grateful
Why are
for.
you so deep? 40 things. Wow.
I'm grateful for.
I'm going to do that.
Okay. Then I gave myself an assignment. I said, you know what, Joy? For the 40s of your life, we will get you a jewelry every year.
Oh, wow.
Joy, we will get you. Not who will get me. Joy. Me and you. Me, Joy. We will look for something.
Like
It
you're
can
having a
be
meeting
ring.
with yourself.
I'm having a meeting with myself.
And telling yourself, I'm going
And
to get
telling
myself
myself,
jewelry.
this is a reminder of our 40s.
Wow.
This is what we will celebrate about our 40s. This is what we will say 40s did for us, right?
Wow.
And so we cannot draw from the external. It must be from the internal. And that internal must be fed by the Lord. It must be drawn from that depth. Otherwise, the things around us are vanity of vanity. And constantly you keep feeling there is something I should have achieved. And I guess it's, as I said earlier, when we began, when you asked me, and I said, I don't have children. And I'm married happily. And my friends got children, and their children grew. And I'm still watching. So you have to define who you are in the Lord. And you have to be okay with yourself first.
Wow.
Completely. You know? And so you cannot separate that okayness from God's word. It has to be, you know, grounded there. It has to be grown there. So when that is done, then you go out. And so sometimes people who come to you are not believers. Definitely. Most likely they're not believers. But you must bring people to a place where they start, where did they lose it? Where did they start feeling they're under the bridge? You know, where did it start to go down? And so sometimes finding that safe space to talk about their journeys in life, where they got stuck. And then you start to see from where we are, we may not be able to go back. But what can we do to keep moving forward? You know, small steps, you know, small steps, one day at a time. What are those little habits? What are those things that you need to do to feel good about yourself? So many women think, oh, it has to be expensive. I have to do a trip. I have to go to the sauna. I keep saying women can go and spend a day in a sauna and come home and abuse everyone crazy.
That's true.
That's true.
And they had gone for self-care.
So true.
They come back and nobody has peace. Everybody runs. You know, they walk into the house and it's, you know, like a movie. Run, you know. So a lady, a woman, must know who she is in God. And she must be okay with that first. And she must be healed. And how do we get healed? In the Lord.
Amen.
That's where I know we get healing. You know,
just
because
thinking even a girl.
they come, you know, they come broken.
Yeah,
Women
it's
come broken. And you know, even men come broken.
It's true.
But since this conversation is around our gender a bit more, allow me to be a little biased when I say that. So when we are talking about talking to women, because for me it is not the talking, it's the listening. A lot of what I do is listen. It's not talking. And so as we listen, you listen to yourself talk about your journey. As you listen to yourself talk about what you're eating. So as you start to listen, you realize, oh, me. Okay, so what do I need to do about it? How then can I support you to start making steps towards the right direction? You know?
I love that. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And you know, it's interesting that so many times like I'm seated here, I'm just thinking that so many times we just don't stop. You know, and the Bible, Psalms talks about, you know, has the Selah, you know, where you just pause and think about it. And maybe that's what we need to keep doing with our lives, you know, just keep taking that pause and you think about it. You pause and you reflect, you know, on your season and where you currently are. And that's what I'm hearing you as you speak. And thank you for sharing that and even sharing your story, because I think it's not easy sometimes, you know, because we compare ourselves. You compare houses, cars, how whose wife looks, whose husband looks, you know, whose children, gosh, they have 6, you have 4, you know, they have 10, you know, like it's like there's always be someone 2 steps ahead. And
4 steps, 10,
yes,
0. So you have to be fine with you first.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I think that's such a like a wonderful message. As I'm listening to Joy, I'm like, even for children, for girls, for boys, to grow up knowing who you are.
Yes, and being fine with that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful.
That's true.
And I'm just curious, even as we now come to a close of this show, when you think about the work that you've done so far, you know, just with the various women, etc., is there a story you can share that for you has been the highlight of, you know, just the work that you've done? Of course, not revealing the identity, etc., but I'm just curious, you know, do these things work? You know, it's so easy for us to sit here and talk about it, and someone at home is just like, well, you know, maybe this is just theory. Faith needed 2 people to come feel the show, and here they are. But has it worked for any women you've met? Like the nutrition work you do, and you know, the work that you're doing as a therapist, you know, helping people with natural family planning. You know, you need to get a way of making sure everybody knows about it. But I'm just curious, does it work? Maybe I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm seeing it work, but maybe someone at home needs that assurance.
Okay. I think I'll start with the nutrition side. The nutrition side, absolutely, it works. With when we put our heart into it, it works. I've seen many women be able, most importantly, feel better. Like they're able to come to a place where they feel better about themselves, or better about their lives. So I've seen it work countless times. Just approaching it from a point of, I'm loving myself, so I'm doing this to help myself live my life and live out my purpose better. Yes, it does. With children, it works incredible. I think we need another conversation just to talk about nutrition and children. It works on many levels. I've worked with kids who've been very, very unwell, and just seen how nutrition changes even things like achieving milestones. Children maybe who have cerebral palsy being able to achieve milestones because they're feeding right. So nutrition is gold. It does work. When it comes to reproductive health, it also really works. There are people who get pregnant simply because they learned like, I can actually be fertile when I'm on my period. That has changed people's lives. I can actually be fertile when I'm on my period. That's something that has changed people's lives and brought babies.
Yes.
So natural, I feel like natural is the way God made us, so it always works because it's our natural design.
It's so true. And I think the world is learning that. I keep saying, if you look at COVID, you know, a lot of us turned to natural medicine, and that's what just seemed to work. You know, so I guess it works in that sense. And I loved what you said, just in terms of the women that you've worked with and the children, you know, and seeing that transformation, and it gives me hope. You know, that there's things that that can be done for women who feel like it's all lost. And maybe what we need to do is I need to get onto that meal plan, then we check a year from now. And we come and do another show and see where
we are. Absolutely.
Joy?
Yeah, Faith, it really does work. You see, my approach, even as I said earlier, is I totally, completely, you know, when we, for example, the last time we did have a workshop with ladies a couple of months ago. And one of the things that was very interesting was one of the older ladies sitting there and looking at us. An elderly lady, probably in her 50s. And she looked at us and told us this. She said, you know, I'm going to go back home and look for the small girl. There was this girl I was. There's this woman I believe I am, but I lost her somewhere. And for us, that was it. if for nothing else, if she picked that there was a girl she needed to look for, and she's in her 50s and probably heading to her 60s, because it looked like late
I think
50s,
probably 60s even,
you know, 60s we believe. For us, we went home and said, Eureka, we got this. It has happened. If for no other reason, there is something around faith that you don't know, there's still a discovery. You're still, I would say you're still somebody who does not know the true faith. There's still a faith that is in there that needs to come out. You have a treasure within you. And this is not just jargon that we keep repeating to make everybody feel, you know.
Feel good and
No,
feel some goosebumps.
no. Because what does the Bible say in Psalms 139? That there was what was written of you according to the books. So there is something that was written of you, and it is time and seasons that reveal it. Consistency, going on, finding help. And the other thing that I have seen and constantly encourage women is don't be proud. You cannot solve everything.
That's true.
Go and seek help.
Yeah.
Sit down with somebody, ask, you know, as long as they are within, you know, the right conversations, but seek help. There's always a way to come out, so it works. It does work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. This has been such a highlight for my week, for this season.
Yeah.
You know, just listening to you both, I feel like I just had a therapy session. And you know, I always put aside and kept saying, I'll do therapy one day. So many years later and didn't, until what I went through this time. And I was like, you know what, this time I feel like I'm losing my mind. And so I signed up for therapy. And it's not for those who've lost their mind. I think it's for all of us, you know. And I love what you guys are doing, and I urge you on. I think it's fantastic. And, you know, just being able to help women in this day and age and encouraging them in the right things. And I think the beauty of listening to you is the reminder of self, like, you know, to just go back, and I'll go back and ask myself, so who am I really? I mean, and also lie down in the grass for 10 minutes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, you know, God created each of us with a purpose, and each of us with, you know, like a full life that He has planned for you. So after this show, take time, sit down, ask yourself those questions. Why am I here? What did God make me for? You know, put down the thoughts that come up, you know, seek out help if you need help. But, you know, don't wallow in whatever season you're in. Don't wallow in, you know, motherhood and forget that there's you as well. Yes, motherhood is honorable, but, you know, it helps for you to be in a good space to be able to do that work of honor. So I wish you all your best in that journey, but I hope this helped you start that journey of wellness. Thank you, ladies. I know so many women are encouraged. This has been She. And remember, if you'd want to partner with us, the number to reach us on is 2316, and text and say partner, and we'll come back to you. And thank you if you've been partnering with us for the last 25 years or the last 10 years, of however long. We are so grateful. And if you want to partner with us by giving a gift, please go to Paybill 316, and when it says account number, please put in your name. And thank you so much for your gift. This has been She. Thank you for listening on Family Radio and watching us on Family TV. See you next week, and God bless you.